Let's talk about how this full moon in Cancer is impacting Americans. By looking at the United States natal chart, we know that this is bringing a lot of emotional intensity generally to everybody around the world, but particularly in America, because this is hitting our natal eighth house, which is a very intense, private house. And with a moon in this area, it is illuminating matters having to do with use of taxpayer dollars, secrets, scandals. We can already see this playing out in California, North Carolina, FEMA. A lot of people are asking questions about water usage, how resources have been managed, not just money with eighth house, but also water when we're talking about Cancer. So there's been some sober and even depressing elements to these emotions here that a lot of us are feeling as the moon is squaring the United States natal Saturn. And that's just related to, people in authority when we bring up Saturn. There's a spotlight also on intense changes that are going on within America's value system and monetary system, as the sun is like sitting practically right on top of our Pluto return that we're having right now. So there's just no way of getting around the intensity of this, having to do with security issues, control, power dynamics, and issues with the authorities. So this is bringing up, I think, a lot of aggressive communications, particularly with Mars conjunct the United States natal Mercury in Cancer. And what are people getting aggressive about? It's, their values and how money is being spent in the homeland. I mean, listen, I just put out a prediction video for America over the last year and a half, and the only negative feedback I got was about American values. And well, when did that become bad? I'm sorry, I'm Gen X. Like, I thought, being an American was something to be proud of, like it used to be. We used to be proud of our country and our people. What happened? Where did it go? And I think we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to restore that with this Pluto return, which, by the way, is a 250-year, once in a 250-year transit. Okay, so, and the sun is sitting right on it. Like, you've lost your way, America. Why are you not proud anymore? You've got everybody around the world trying to come into this country. Apparently we're not that bad. We're not as bad as the schools have taught, or the programming on the TV, or the pop culture, or whatever. We're apparently not that bad, because the whole rest of the world's trying to get in here, legal or illegal. So, but what are we talking about now? I can see it in my comments. Oh, let's talk about how American values are bad. I'm sorry, when were you born? This is a Gen X thing. My bad. Should I apologize for this? I'm not gonna. This is definitely triggering a lot of 1776 conversations along the lines of, why are we paying for this? Like, why are we paying taxes? I thought this was for the greater good. I mean, I don't see any greater good going on here. Like, why are we supposed to be doing this? And do you know, this was the same conversations they were having in 1776 that caused us to get independent from the authorities, the ruling class elite. Now, there's still a lot of distortion going on that we're coming out of, a lot of heavy karma attached to this distortion within the media, and that includes social media, as we've had Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces going through our third house, having to do with communications and information. And that's been happening over the last 2 years. By the way, we're coming out of that. But realize we're dealing with a lot of people who've been gaslit, who are now gaslighting other people. So be aware of this whenever you're dealing with aggressive communications, particularly about value systems. We're dealing with people who have been, undergoing an operation of a psychological magnitude. I have to speak in code, okay? Also in America, if you look at our chart, you can see that there's a raised awareness of the shadow government, or at least the shadow aspect of government, that there's, a shadow side, a dark side to the government. And it's a pain point, as Black Moon Lilith in Libra is transiting our 10th house, having to do with governments, corporations. We're definitely seeing the dark side of these entities coming out. And it is confronting that Chiron return in Aries that we're experiencing as a nation in our 4th house in the homeland, really bringing up a pain point, having us question our own deservingness of better government, our own need to be self-empowered, sovereign against corrupt officials. My advice for Americans with this energy is, use your intuition as a guide during this time because, listen, full moon in Cancer on its own is very empathic. I mean, the world over, okay? But then you take in America that this is conjunct our natal psyche placement. My gosh, we could really tune in and get a lot of intuitive downloads. And I think during this time, when you don't really know who or what you can trust with the information, with the authorities, with the use of resources, what you can trust is that intuition. And this is also a time when we can leverage our own dark side, our own shadow side, to refuse victimhood. Because we've got the moon sextiling our natal Lilith. So, I mean, could you be a bad bitch? Could you take your power back? Could you refuse to be somebody else's victim? How could you do that? Because that's a good use of this energy here. Another positive use is consider the challenges ahead and how can they be used as opportunities to transform your own vulnerabilities into strengths. Because we've got, the sun and the moon that are squaring Chiron during this transit. So for example, recently my lights went out for about an hour. There was somebody had an accident, hit the power lines, went down. And so for an hour, no power, and I had to be somewhere. And my whole life was kind of derailed for that just 1 hour, and I had to make other plans. And in that moment, I felt like Spirit was like, hey, what are you going to do? See, the buzzer just went off. That's a sign. Wakey, wakey. What are you going to do if the power goes down? How much does that inconvenience or derail your plans or slow you down to not have power for 1 hour? Same with the water. This morning I woke up and I guess they were working on the water and it just I couldn't take a shower. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't fill in the blank. So in those moments, I start looking at, and I'm encouraging you to do the same, look at this issue of, how can you put value back in yourself and not delegate, not give your power away to the authorities. Oh, they're going to fix it for me. They're going to take care of it. Well, what if they can't, right? What if you don't have access to water? I'm not playing make-believe here. This is really happening in California right now. What if you don't have electricity? This is really happening out in North Carolina right now. And so what can you do to provide in an empowered, self-empowered way, your own sense of self-protection and security, starting, yes, with yourself, but also with your family? How can you do that? Because I'm telling you, what's getting revealed right now that is getting people worked up emotionally, Spirit is trying to show you something. Spirit's trying to give you a heads up so that you get the upper hand in these situations. Use the information wisely. Don't let it use you. Control your emotions. Don't let your emotions control you. That's my advice. And by the way, we got new beginnings coming in a couple weeks. Actually, February 29th, we have a new moon in Aquarius during an electrifying week. I'm not even sure. I mean, you got to stay tuned. We'll talk about it when we get closer to that. But is TikTok going to go down during that time? There's been a TikTok ban order that's in place and it's supposed to be official on the 29th. Is it real? Is it going to happen? I don't know, because when we're talking new moon in Aquarius, we're looking at a new beginning with social media, among other things. And like I said, we'll talk about it then. But in the meantime, make sure that you're not only following me here, but that you're also following me on other platforms in the event something goes down over here. I'm on Rumble, X, YouTube, Instagram. I hope to see you there. I've got more predictions coming. Let's stay in touch. Be blessed.